We have lots to discuss in tonight's video, including a major update regarding potential NHL expansion, new updates around a potential ownership group in Houston, as well as potential in Atlanta as well. We'll discuss all the latest on that front. Plus, we have updates regarding some college free agent signings in the NHL and our Hobie Baker top 10 finalists. Plus, we're looking at some NHL offseason rumors regarding teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Maple Leafs, and could we finally see a John Gibson change of scenery this offseason? Plus, we have some other updates as well regarding Alex Ovechkin getting another goal. He's down to 7. We'll take a look at where things stand with his record chase for Wayne Gretzky's all-time record, and lots of injury updates as well coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here in today's video. First up tonight, we saw the great 8 Alex Ovechkin get yet another goal. He's now down to 7 to break the all-time record held by number 99 Wayne Gretzky. As of tonight, Ovi has 888, so he's got 8s across the board, and the Washington Capitals become the first NHL team to clinch their NHL postseason spot. So obviously we've seen the Sharks be the first team be eliminated, and now the Caps are the first team to punch their ticket to the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. So like I said, all in all, good night for Washington. Ovi gets one goal closer. Capitals are in the playoffs, obviously Ovechkin is on pace. Like, he could break the record this year. At the very beginning, when the NHL season was first starting, I always put out a bunch of predictions. I mean, I don't expect to get them all right by any means. Obviously just for fun. I usually do a video in, the few days ahead of the NHL season starting called Bold Predictions. I had predicted that Ovechkin was going to fall just short of breaking the all-time record for Wayne Gretzky's goals scored, and that he would end up doing it at the beginning of next year. Obviously, next year might be his final year in the NHL. We don't know that 100%, but it's certainly based on his contract and based on what he said about wanting to play in Russia before he's fully retired. I would suspect it's a possibility, but we'll have to see, of course, what he decides. If he's still feeling good, you never know. Maybe he stays longer, but for right now, he's got 7 goals left to do it. The way he's with his pace, it could easily happen, and he tends to sometimes score in bunches. If he gets like a hat trick anywhere in the next, 4 or 5 games or something, it'll increase his odds of getting it done. But we'll see if my prediction holds true from the beginning of the year, or if it happens before the season finishes up. We have some signings today, including a couple of free agent signings from the college world, but we'll start first with the Buffalo Sabres re-signing defenseman Jacob Bryson. He gets a 1-year contract extension at $900,000. The Toronto Maple Leafs today were able to come to terms with college unrestricted free agent John Prokop, a defenseman from Union College. Put up 27 points in 36 games this year. Certainly a prospect that a few other teams were very, very interested in as well. But Prokop ends up going to the Leafs, and it hasn't been made an official yet, but Frank Saravalli is reporting as well that the New York Islanders are closing in on signing a U.S. college free agent here as well. Gleb Vermayev from Colorado College as well. The 6'4" forward, New Jersey native, obviously will be able to play close to home. He's 21 years old, so 6'4", not a guy that's going to put up a ton of points. To me, he projects to be probably a third-line centerman or winger at best. Looks like he's pretty good on face-offs, and clearly somebody that probably not going to have a huge offensive role. But he's got the size, he's got the strength, good on face-offs, seems to be decent defensively. So I would suspect that with the way the Islanders like to play, that could be something that works into their good graces here in the next little while. But Gleb Vermayev, one of the more sought-after free agents. Apparently the Bruins were heavy in on him as well. As I mentioned, we have lots of other updates tonight regarding some injuries and some roster moves. Matt Rempe missed tonight's game to the Rangers as they did battle the Maple Leafs with an illness. Leon Draisaitl was out of action for the Edmonton Oilers. We saw in their last game that he did have some sort of injury. Doesn't appear to be serious, but he was doubtful to play tonight and didn't get in the lineup. Rasmus Ristolainen with the Flyers, considered week to week as well, with an upper body injury, and William Karlsson expected to be a game-time decision, but I believe it's promising that he was going to get back into the lineup tonight for the Golden Knights. As I mentioned as well, we got the top 10 finalists for the Hobey Baker trophy this year, and some of the top-rated prospects that were highly drafted in the last couple of years of NHL drafts are in this list here. Some prospects that you want to keep an eye on: Jimmy Snuggerud with the St. Louis Blues, Ryan Leonard of the Washington Capitals, Zeev Buium, who was taken last year in Minnesota, and Isaac Howard, who was back. He was a couple years back from the Tampa Bay Lightning. All four of those guys have made it into the top 10 finalists for that coveted trophy. We also seen Evander Kane make his first skate return with the Edmonton Oilers today, so he was on the ice for practice. We know that the last update was that he likely wouldn't be available until the playoffs, which is what they're banking on based on their cap situation. But the fact that he's able to start skating with the team now just makes it look more promising that by the time the playoffs roll around, that he will be good to go. The Edmonton Oilers also had Prime Minister of Canada Mark Carney on the ice. I'm not really sure the exact nature of what the whole intent there was, but he was on the ice with Edmonton today. He did play hockey back when he was younger. I believe he was a third-string goalie for Harvard briefly. I'm not really sure. I don't have a lot of history on Carney besides what he's done politically here more recently. Otherwise, we got some updates as well regarding expansion. This is going to be a big topic, but ESPN was the first ones to put out the report. I believe Emily Kaplan had the story, but certainly other reporters, including guys from Sportsnet, chimed in, and Kevin Weeks as well. So we have a new owner who's expected to be very, very interested in bringing a team to the city of Houston. So U.S. billionaire Dan Friedkin has emerged as a strong ownership contender for the NHL in Houston, Texas. Now, he is the CEO of Friedkin Group, which in 2020 purchased the soccer team over in Italy, Italian Series A club AS Roma. In 2024, became majority owners of the English Premier League in Everton, and they were also rumored to be one of the groups that were involved in the negotiations to buy the Boston Celtics, who just sold in the NBA here recently for $6 billion. So he's also the chairman and CEO of Gulf States Toyota. So this guy has got very deep pockets, owns a few other teams, obviously in the world of soccer, and is very interested apparently in bringing an NHL team to Houston. So clearly we know that we've heard this isn't the first time Houston has come up. Obviously they've been one of the cities that's lacking NHL hockey, one of the biggest markets in the United States. So I fully suspect, and we've been saying it for a long time, that Houston stood a very good chance of getting an NHL team. Of course, the owner of the Rockets there, Tillman Fertitta, has been long rumored to be possibly the owner to bring a team there in the NHL. But we've also at times heard reports that, and we'll have to wait and see what happens, obviously. But there have been times when I've heard of Fertitta being interested but not wanting to be the majority owner, that he may be willing to be a partner and maybe own a smaller stake in our NHL franchise. So we'll have to see here how this plays out. But clearly the fact that Gary Bettman has made it clear on multiple occasions when asked in a public forum about, expansion being on the horizon, would they open up a window, say, okay, we're willing to consider expanding, we're willing to kind of take applications. That's not going to happen by the looks of it, and Bettman's even downplayed it, but continues to say that they've had significant interest from a variety of places for NHL franchises, and if and when they're ready to do that, they'll kind of deal with it accordingly, so to speak. But I think, in all honesty, that they've got enough people in the interested groups going to them that I don't think they're going to have any kind of formal expansion process. Probably about a year ago, when I thought this was pretty realistic that we'd see a further future NHL expansion, I really thought they would have a formal process. Now it doesn't look that way at all. To be honest, I think we've got groups in Atlanta as well, and there's multiple groups there too. Kevin Weeks chimed in today as well, talking a bit about that. So between what we've heard out of Houston and Atlanta, I honestly think they will be the next two cities. When we'll get an announcement, when we'll see something, I don't know. Hard to say. I think it's probably fair to say that the NHL right now is most focused on getting the next CBA ratified with the players. I know that the players are probably going to ask for a percentage of any potential future expansion fees that might be paid to the league. I'm not sure if they'll be successful in that. Clearly, some options there. So, we know that the relations are good between the NHL and the Players Association, and they're likely going to get a CBA done without too much trouble. At least that's the way things look here today. But right now, like I said, I think we'll probably get an announcement that's going to come out of nowhere and just say we've got groups lined up, we're ready to proceed, and I think we're going to go Houston in the West, Atlanta in the East, and have 17 teams in each conference. I'm not sure if we'll see any type of realignment. I don't know if we really need to do that. I mean, if you look at the NHL, the way the teams are aligned with the divisions, I mean, Houston probably makes most sense for the Central Division. You've got a team like Atlanta probably makes more sense for the Metro Division. I don't know. I mean, we could see realignment. I don't know that there's really a need for that. With 17 teams, you're going to have an odd number somewhere. So we'll see. But that's the big expansion news here today. The fact that there's yet another billionaire owner wanting to bring a team to Houston is only going to bring that likelihood up that they get that team sooner than later. So we'll see where things go on that front. I don't know exactly. I would suspect, I'd be surprised if we get through this offseason without getting something a little bit more concrete. If you follow the Women's League as well in the PWHL, they are also expected to be announcing some expansion. They're going to go from their original 6 to likely up to 8 teams. Don't know exactly where they're going to go. I know that there's been some Western teams that have been very interested, or Western cities to get a team with their tour that they've done with their game. They did great in like Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle, but the fact that all their teams are eastbound right now, I think it would make a travel nightmare to start going west unless you're able to put like a full division out there. At least in my opinion, I would be more likely to think you're going to see teams on the eastern part of the continent. So I know Quebec City was pushing hard. If they can't get the NHL, maybe they'll obviously have success with that league. And then of course Detroit was in the mix. Pittsburgh had some, but I know their numbers weren't quite as strong there. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Detroit and Quebec City, to be completely honest. But we'll have to wait and see. Lots of other cities interested in that league too. Now, in the offseason rumor mill, we want to take a quick look at here as well. Some talk about John Gibson. We know that this offseason, it's going to probably be the last chance for the team to trade the goaltender. There's not much time left in his contract. Clearly, it's getting easier and easier to make a move with retention and all that. The fact that his time and his contract's finally at a point where they don't need a retain money for 3 or 4 years. So this has been an ongoing saga with Gibson for a long time. The Carolina Hurricanes are a prime team that have come up here yet again. They apparently did have trade discussions around the deadline. Obviously, it didn't happen. We know that the Hurricanes have actually been in and out of the Gibson sweepstakes here for a couple of years. But they continue to run with what they've had internally. Freddie Anderson's going to once again be a UFA. He's on a number of short-term contracts with Carolina. I do wonder if it's finally time that they move on there. They've got Kochetkov under contract for a little longer at a good number. They could certainly afford to bring in a guy like Gibson. I do wonder if maybe that might be the direction they go in. If they can get Gibson this summer with some retained money and then go with Gibson and Kochetkov next year, wouldn't be completely shocking. So we'll have to see where it goes, but there is some speculation that Gibson could finally be on the move out of Anaheim, and Carolina is the most likely landing spot for him at this point. Another name to watch in Toronto, David Kampf, has kind of fallen out of, I wouldn't say fallen out of favor, but he's fallen on the depth chart since they made their post-deadline moves here. Obviously, especially with the arrival of Scott Lawton, he's become a little bit less relied upon, and certainly a player that is not getting as much ice time or even been scratched at times as well. So Kampf is, according to, I know, looking at some information here from LeafsNation.com, they feel that he's a prime trade or buyout candidate this offseason. I know when he signed his contract, which was done previously under Dubas, I was like, why would you sign a bottom 6 player, like typically a 4th liner, to term like that? Those guys don't get term, and there's a reason why. So I never liked that contract. The money was okay. I thought it was a little steep, but the fact that they signed him for was it 4 years, I think it was, that's just a little bit crazy for that type of position. So David Kampf at this point, especially as the Leafs continue to get healthier, if they go into the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts the playoffs out of the lineup and maybe has very little or small of a role. We'll have to see. It's going to largely depend on health as well. But if they can stay healthy and get some more guys back, I do wonder what the future of Ryan Reeves too. He finds himself right now in the minors. He still has term on that contract, another year. I know that they can, technically with what Reeves makes, they can bury it in the minors and it's not too big of a cap problem for them. But I do wonder if they'll explore finding him a new home to finish that contract out for next year. Clearly, as the season went on, they found he had less and less of a role. Will they give him a shot in the playoffs? I honestly have my doubts. I mean, even if you're looking back at some of the other recent teams that he's been on, like look when he was, during his time in the Rangers or Vegas, he would get to the playoffs and then he would be a non-factor. So I was surprised they signed him to a term as well when they did. Obviously, that was a little over a year ago now, and it's not working out. So Kampf and Reeves very likely moving on from Toronto if they can find a way to do that this summer. Also reports from the Pittsburgh Hockey Now talking about Pittsburgh, wondering if they might not, because it talks about a few things here. Their most recent stuff says they really like, which we talked about a few days ago about Erik Karlsson being a player that they really think that Dubas is going to try to move this summer. Tristan Jarry's another guy to watch. Clearly a player that's fallen out there, but again, with his contract, are they going to be able to do that? Or is he going to have to ride some time out in Pittsburgh, maybe go through waivers again? It's kind of hard to say, but we know that, they're players that the Penguins would like to move. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, of course, but another name to watch would be, according to this report, is they have a lot of draft picks. They've actually done a really good job, Dubas has, accumulating draft capital. Wondering if they would go after a top young RFA. And the name that was brought up was J.J. Peterka. Now, we know Peterka's name with Buffalo was in the rumor mill leading into the deadline. Obviously, never got traded. And honestly, based on what we've heard about Peterka after the fact, it sounds like Buffalo really wasn't out there trying to move him. But when you're low in the standings, teams try to pry away your good players. It's just that's just how things go. And they were looking for a massive asking price to have any chance of getting him out of there. So you're probably looking at multiple first-round picks. Now, I don't think Pittsburgh's going to want to go that route. I think they need to use their first-rounders, but could they offer, something else? It's quite possible. I can understand the sentiment of the article on why they would want to go after. Peterka's young enough, skilled enough, scores enough that he would be an attractive piece. Does he want to stay in Buffalo? We don't know. There's obviously a lot of uncertainty about a lot of the players with the Sabres because of the fact that they're so low in the standings here yet again. But with Peterka, I think they'd have a tough time to pull it off, even though he would be an ideal player for them. They do have a lot of draft capital, but they're not going to want to move their first rounders, right? At least that's the ones they're going to want to hold on to the most. So not sure they can get a deal done, but unless they put together another package, maybe Buffalo, because Buffalo, the other thing too is they don't really want futures, right? They made it clear, like when they did the Dylan Cousins trade, they got Josh Norris back. They want players who can play now. They don't want to continue looking way down the road for the future and getting draft picks or whatnot. Players are going to select maybe in the draft this year and maybe not have an impact for 2, 3, 4 more years. They don't want that. They're already at a point where they were hoping to be well out of this part of the rebuild, and they're still stuck in the part of the system where they are. So clearly, if they're going to trade for Peterka, you'd have to give them at least one good roster player coming back that they feel could help them right now. So unless you're offering something on the Penguins roster, and I'm not really sure what that would be, that would fit the Sabres timeline, I don't know that it's going to happen. So to be honest, I think it's a good thought. I just think it's probably not overly realistic. But again, I think there's going to be lots of teams probably inquiring on his availability. I'm not sure anybody can pull it off because as much as you like the guy, you don't want to mortgage too much of the future to bring him in. So let me know what you think on all of today's news, especially on the expansion stuff. Are we going to get NHL expansion this summer? Is Houston, Atlanta going to be the spots? Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.